Undertale was an anomaly.
This game is so funny.
It went from zero recognition to one of the most talked about games in the world overnight.
Now, this is rapidly becoming one of the most popular games in recent years.
It seemingly came out of nowhere, but somehow playthroughs dominated YouTube. This game was unlike any other on the market. And after researching the game's history, I found that the reason Undertale succeeded is the same reason it almost failed. Undertale was developed by Toby Fox, a longtime gamer and huge fan of JRPGs, especially EarthBound. He had been dabbling in game development since high school, making EarthBound ROM hacks. But Toby saw a problem that every JRPG had in common. Monsters were all the same. They had different abilities and models, but otherwise, they had no personality, no human relatability. He thought the combat felt boring, repetitive, and turned each game into an indiscriminate murder fest. You killed monster after monster in the exact same fashion, and the only bad guy that had any personality was usually the big bad of the whole game. Toby wanted to change that, and decided to make a game that asked a unique question. What if you didn't have to kill anything? With this unique idea in mind, Toby started building, creating concepts while studying in college. He drew inspiration from other games, some JRPGs and some not. While Toby was responsible for writing, programming, music, and some of the art, he had Temi Chang and some others help with the game. But ultimately, Toby always had the final say. He released a demo in May of 2013 and launched the Kickstarter with a goal of 5,000 in June. It quickly hit 5,000, then 15,000. By the end of July, it blew past the goal and reached over 50,000. The game finally released 2 years later, creating a digital tsunami. Nearly every gaming YouTuber played Undertale, giving it massive exposure. The game went on to sell well over 1 million copies on PC alone, an insane amount of success for a game with a $50,000 budget. But for every indie game that sees success like this, there are 100 others that never get any attention. And games made by teams this small usually don't see this type of success. But for Undertale, a small team wasn't a weakness. It was its greatest strength. A lot of games struggle to be a cohesive experience. A section might feel out of place or might not be as polished as others. Many characters might not seem quite right or are boring and fall flat. But Undertale doesn't have this problem. It's a compact, highly polished experience that consistently nails the tone throughout the entire game. Everything is there. The music, the dialogue, the gameplay, the environments. It nails that child lost in an underground society feeling. The innovative combat system is more interactive than any other JRPG out there, with its unique blend of turn-based and bullet hell style combat. It's challenging, but just the right amount. But the game isn't just fun to play. And if you read the Steam reviews for Undertale, you can see what all the hype is about. For some players, Undertale answered the question of why video games are even worth playing. Others wish they could forget everything about the game so they could play it all over again. And others thought it was a game about sexy skeletons.
What?
But what is most unique about Undertale is that everyone who plays it walks away feeling something that has kept people talking about the game for almost a decade. I can count the number of games that have done that on one hand, but this game tells an intriguing story that gets you invested almost immediately. It has multiple endings, making the game very replayable, and the choices you make have significance. More significance than almost any other game. In an era of big budget games and massive team sizes, Undertale is a gem. And this is where the small dev team of Undertale shines. Toby Fox conceptualized every aspect of this game. He took an existing genre he loved, he innovated, and then he subverted players' expectations in a very heartfelt and unique way. There were 20 people involved in the decision making. Undertale might have looked very different. But because of Toby Fox's passion and determination to carry out his vision, we got one of the most beautiful stories in gaming history. That's why people love this game. Undertale isn't the most technically impressive. The gameplay is unique, but it's not revolutionary. The humor is funny, but it's not groundbreaking. However, when you put everything together in this lovingly crafted and cohesive experience, Toby created a game that enthralled millions. But the same thing that allowed Undertale to flourish almost prevented it from ever taking off. Undertale was not a safe project. When the game came out, its mechanics and style didn't really have an audience in mind. AAA studios avoid making games like Undertale because they aren't sure if they will succeed. Undertale is a game I love, but something I struggle with conceptually. It goes against many of the principles I teach. I mean, my entire value to the hundreds of companies I've consulted is to help them eliminate as much risk as possible when they build their product, to help them predict its potential. Had Toby Fox listened to me, Undertale wouldn't be the success it is today, at least not as successful. Because what makes Undertale so unique is that Toby took a risk, making a game with no clear audience. Undertale might have appealed to some traditional JRPG fans, but it was so different from others on the market, that it wasn't a safe bet. And because the combat is pretty challenging, it wouldn't appeal to players who just wanted to experience a great story. While there are fans of JRPGs and there are fans of narrative-focused games, Undertale was trying to appeal to both, while introducing a new mechanic that have never really been tried before. Most of the time when you try something so unique or try to appeal to multiple markets, you end up pushing everyone away. But rather than follow a trend, Undertale completely defied conventions. People who have never touched JRPGs played Undertale, and even if you've never played it, you've probably heard of it. It did more than capture the JRPG or story-based market. It transcended its genre entirely, which is a nearly impossible feat. One man's vision and passion to defy the tropes of a genre created a world that is beloved by many and is looked at as a true classic in gaming. Undertale has no right to be as successful as it is. With a small budget and even smaller team, Undertale captivated the consciousness of the gaming community with a story unlike any game before it. This is why the indie game community is so fantastic. Indies are filling a gap AAAs can't. If you want something safe, a game that appeals to millions of people, AAAs will always beat indies. But if you want something truly unique and full of heart, then indies are where you should be looking. Undertale isn't just a game. It's an experience. It's an example that games are more than just business. They are a form of art, and their success can't always be predicted with numbers on a spreadsheet. So if you haven't played Undertale yet, this is your wake-up call to go pick it up. Real quick, before you go, Undertale is of course the indie highlight of the week, so instead of highlighting another indie game, I want to highlight our community, specifically our Discord. Since it's been growing and starting next year, we have all sorts of cool events for indie devs we plan on doing bi-weekly. So if you're an indie dev or an aspiring indie dev, come join our Discord. Thanks so much and see you next time.